Hello, and welcome to the Eldritch Collection. My name is Aaron Peterson, and I will be your curator. Today, we're talking about Hereditary, a 2018 film. It's directed by Ari Aster and starring Toni Collette, Gabriel Byrne, Alex Wolff, and introducing Millie Shapiro as the young daughter Charlie. This is a dense film about occultism, family, and living with secrets. The two elements that I'm most interested in are the way that this film addresses family and also the way it uses minimalistic visual styles to maximize terror. Every family has drama, whether that's illness or a deep-seated hatred for one another or just a bunch of secrets because of past careers or bizarre interests or because of criminality or other things that just aren't talked about. I believe every family has something like that brewing, either on this side or that side, with this sibling or that parent figure. This film takes that well-known and relatable feeling and takes it up to a very intense level. I'm going to take this time right now to offer a spoiler alert. This film starts with the death of Toni Collette's character's mother dying. She is the grandmother to Charlie and her brother. During the funeral, you get a sense that the mother and her children didn't really know her grandmother, that she hid a lot of secrets, and that she knew a lot more people than she let on. The funeral is attended by a lot of people that the family doesn't recognize, and they all seem very strange and bizarre. One image I definitely remember is one guy standing in the background while the daughter looks at the casket with a very wide-eyed and creepy grin. Over the course of the film, the secrets of the mother get discussed and explored, but it isn't really until the last 20 minutes or so that you get the full picture of what was actually going on. She was the leader of a coven of witches and devil worshippers, and all the people that attended the funeral were the people that worshiped the same prince of hell that she did. And their goal was to have one of those children be possessed by this prince of hell so that he may live on earth and bring them knowledge and riches. I'm sure that's much more extreme than most people's weird habits of their grandparents, but it still hints at the idea that you never really know your family members and what they might be hiding or what they might secretly be desiring. Another big part of this film is the relationship between the mother and the son. In this film, you find out that the mother was hesitant to have her first child, that she didn't really want her son, and that's something that she struggles with a lot, especially as the stress gets ratcheted up throughout the course of the film. In one dream sequence, the mother actually blurts out to the son that she never really wanted him, and that it was mostly because of her mother that she didn't want him. And, looking at the end of the film, I suppose her instincts were right, that having the children was the worst thing that could have happened to them. The dream ends with both the mother and the son being caught on fire before she wakes up. The most nuanced element of this film is the relationship that the family has with the youngest, the daughter, who seems to be developmentally challenged, either because of a past incident or some genetic defect. She talks slowly and has a clucking sound, a glottal stop sound that she makes throughout the film that is both unsettling and makes you feel sorry for her. And you see the family walk that line as delicately as they can between coddling her, encouraging her, disciplining her, and wanting to support and love her, but also feeling burdened by her. The son wants to go out to a party because there's a girl there that he's interested in, but the mother encourages the son to take the daughter to the party, and that choice, of course, ends in disaster because of the peanut allergies that she has and because of the son's use of weed, which leads to him making hasty and poor decisions and the death of Charlie. I watched this film a couple weeks ago, and I've still been wrestling with what it made me feel. It was a deep sadness and a deep horror that I felt after finishing this film. And even though the horrific imagery and the scary moments definitely haunted me for the first few nights after finishing this film, it's this family element that has stayed with me the most. The feeling that you never really know your family, that they can be both frustrating and mean everything to you at the same time. That family's hard, and it can be very scary. But the horror elements also deserve to be discussed when you think about Hereditary. It is one of the best horror films I've seen in a really long time. And I think one of the reasons it's so successful is its minimalist approach to both the scares in the film and the visual effects. There aren't even really that many visual effects until the last 20-30 minutes of the film. Before that, it's all just subtle, creepy things, like I mentioned earlier, the guy standing staring at the girl at the casket, or the ghost of the grandmother standing there perfectly calm, just smiling gently in the corner. But the only reason why it's scary is because she's in shadow, and at that point, you know that she's dead. But to be honest, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that shot. That shot alone is profoundly disturbing because of how long it lingers there, and because of just the tension that has been built up both through the music and through the slow-moving, methodical, minimalist visuals that started at the very beginning of the film. When things get bad, they get really bad, and it could be very abrupt. And that's another reason why this film is so effective, is that the jump scares and the horrific elements aren't just cats jumping out of dumpsters. They're legitimately horrific things that make you feel incredibly bad for the characters. There are two, or perhaps three, particularly gruesome examples, and they all involve the deaths of the family members. The worst of these might be the most abrupt, and it's the first one that happens, and that's when Charlie dies. She's actually decapitated as her brother is trying to speed her to the hospital in town for the party where she has the allergic reaction. You don't actually see the aftermath until the morning after it happens. You just see her stick her head out the window, you see the camera rush to the telephone pole, you see the body slumped in the back seat, you see the son crawl into the driveway and then slowly, zombie-like, walk into bed. You hear the mother scream as she sees it, but you don't see it. And it isn't until a jump cut right to the image of her broken head on the road as it was left. That was, of course, a very profoundly disturbing image, and one that just made you feel horrible for her brother and for her, because it had to be such a painful moment as she was struggling to breathe, and then the shame and pain that he must have been feeling ever since then. The other two deaths happened during the climax of the film. The mother and the father die, and they're both pretty horrific, but they're not nearly as jarring and as emotionally fraught as when the daughter dies. The father is burned alive as they try to destroy the book that the daughter drew in, which seems to have attached to her spirit or the spirit of the Prince of Hell. It's not 100% clear. And the mother seems to have gotten possessed or loses control of her body in some way. She starts spider crawling through the house, and it's all very disturbing, but at that point it's so obviously fantastical that it doesn't have the same emotional weight as when Charlie died. She ends up floating in the attic, cutting her own head off. And I'm not sure if she's doing it with like some sort of like piano wire sort of thing, or if she's actually just stabbing her head off. It's not really clear because it's a pretty dark scene, but you could tell that she's definitely lost control of her body and her mind at that point. But aside from those jarring and deeply affecting, horrific deaths, the rest of the film is just full of subtle imagery that is very unnerving. The red light of the heat lamps in the treehouse, the witches and warlocks standing in the forest or across the street looking at the main characters, the way that people stare, the way that people move. It's all very, very simple, no effects, all just has to do with camera, the length of the shot, the odd expressions of the different people throughout the town, and it's just so horrific. It's just so unnerving, and it's beautifully done. It's a masterpiece. I'm really impressed with it. So I definitely think you should add Hereditary to your collection, as I did mine. It is a beautiful horror film, one of the best in the last decade for sure. It's deeply unsettling, it's very relatable, and it's something that I don't know if I'll be able to watch again for quite some time. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.